Hello guys. So right now I'm gonna go over something that took me quite a while to figure out on my own, and I had a little bit of help from Professor Michael Sweet at school to finally figure this out. But basically, there's a lot of tutorials online for how to add sound in Unity, but they all deal with a different method. I needed to figure out a way in which I could work with the scripts that were given to me by my team that are incomplete, and this is still in the early development, but I want to start adding some sound. So I figured out how to do it from code, so I'm gonna go over just the basic how to add sound to the player walking and running. So there are several options for this. The one I'm going to go over today is just using a loop of footsteps, sounds that I recorded. Now I put the sound effects up here where it says resources, sound effects, and I have these two at the moment just as temporary files. Now what's interesting is that it's important to have them inside a folder called resources, and I had tried to name this folder audio resources before, but the code didn't work, so I don't know why, if it's a Unity just direct reference to this to any folder called resources, but it only worked for me if I called it resources for whenever I need to call up this file. So then we're going to go to the player controller script, because this is where we're going to modify and add our code so that we can trigger some sound. So I have it open right here, and it's actually the code in green, but I'm just going to rewrite it for you and explain to you as the way I understand it as to how it works. So first here we're going to have to just um, define a variable. So we're going to be saying public audio source, and then you call the variable whatever you want. So I'm going to call it like this: AU for audio footsteps, just so that later I can easily recognize which which variables I created for audio and might not be for something else. So I have that set up. So that's the only one we're gonna do right now. We come here to void start, which is gonna load all of this when the game begins. And so I have the code written here already. I guess there's not much point in rewriting it. But so basically here I'm just defining, this variable is gonna equal, and then these commands, audio source and game object add component, is to create an audio source, which is what holds the sound within Unity. You need that component on any object. So this is just calling up an audio source, and you're gonna be referring to that audio source as AU footsteps. Then we have to define an audio clip, and you can name this whatever you want. Right now I just named it my audio clip, but you can name it whatever you want later for better reference. So then now we just defined what this my audio clip variable is. I mean, it is an audio clip, but we have to tell it where to go to be that audio clip. So this is just a command order, parentheses audio clip, and then resources.load. See, this is the folder that I said has to be called resources. I might work with another folder such as assets if you chose to put it there, but resources is definitely the way to go. I tried to make a folder called audio resources, and I typed in audio resources here like that, but that didn't work. So just keep in mind. And then so parentheses, and in the quotation marks you will put sound effects because that's the subfolder it's in, and then the audio file, which is footstep would run loop. That's just the name of the file, and so I have to type it exactly. Don't forget the semicolon at the end of each line. So then, now that that's defined, we have to kind of combine the two, and now we say, okay, so my variable AU footsteps is a clip, is calling a clip. Which clip? It's calling my audio clip, and we already defined what my audio clip is. And then this command, all it does is say, okay, so then loop is true, which means that this audio clip is going to loop. This is for another clip, which is ledge clip, which I have right here, AU ledge climb. That's going to be a sound effect that I'm going to be adding for when the main character is climbing up. But I'll do that later. Right now, to continue with the running, now we just have to tell it when to trigger this clip. And here in the programming that I was already given, they wrote out these commands for just to trigger the animation of running. So I took advantage that they already set it up for me, something triggering for with an animation. So then I tell it, okay, whenever you play the animation running, then also play this clip, which is AU, which is audio footsteps dot play. So I'm telling it to play, and it's gonna play looped. Else if, then otherwise is, if you are not running, if the animation is not standing, then make the animation standing. So animation play standing, and when we stand, therefore we want to stop the audio. So then we have audio footsteps dot stop. It's pretty straightforward. The command names, at least. What's not straightforward is just the way it has to be organized, and it took looking at a lot of code and how it works to really start to understand it. If particularly if you don't really have a programming background, which I don't. So then I had a problem then. So for example, you can go ahead and save that right here, and then we go back to our Unity window and we hit play. So now we're gonna hear steps with some feedback. The problem is, well, there's no problem because I actually do have another part of the code, but the problem I had was that when I would jump, the footstep sound would still be triggering. So then I had to find a way to fix that, right? So then what I did is, just looking down here, I just had to find somewhere that gave me the jump command. So right here it says jumping. I just found this in their code, and they said if it's grounded, if the player jumps, then we jump. Here they wrote it in a comment. If we're grounded and a jump command has been given, then jump. So again, I take advantage of this jump command, and I just added here within their code audio footsteps stop, so that whenever the player jumps, the audio footsteps will stop. Now I have to do that with a lot of different sounds, which is why I'm not doing it directly here, because here, if I wanted to, I could just add an audio component, a sound that gets triggered. The problem is that when you do that directly from Unity, you can only have one audio source, and here I'm going to need several, and I'm going to need them triggered to specific actions and animations. So I'm going to need one for jumping. I already have the steps have to stop when you jump, but then you also have to trigger a jumping sound, a ledge climbing sound, and a falling sound. And at the same time, you have to make sure that none of these get triggered at the same time, or while another one is supposed to be triggered. So I'll be going over that as I start to develop it. Right now, at least I got this, and this is the next code for the next clip that I want to add. I have to really look into this code to see where I'm gonna put it. I have also been researching and learning into triggering directly from animation triggers. So what that means is, in my project window, if I go down to sprites and sprite animations and the movement animation, here I can see every single sprite in the animation. So if I want to, I can choose, for example, well, first I gotta choose what I'm looking at, because this is standing. So wait, sorry. So let's go to running. If I want to, I can say trigger, and I'll give it a name, for example, footstep 1. And then from the code, I can directly call this moment and trigger one single footstep, and I can do that with, for example, number 6 as well. So that way, if the character, if they decide to make him run faster, the sound will also run faster. If it's just a loop, then it's not going to work very well. I'll go over that in the next tutorial, because I have to figure it out myself exactly how it works, because I know the commands are a little more sophisticated. I have to create an event delegate in order for that to work. So I will cover that in the next video, and I will keep attempting to, I'll just keep working on using this code. I just think that this code might be a little too, I don't know how to say it, but I'm gonna have to go into a lot of pre-written code and find a little details and then be just adding to that. And I feel that if I can just get a blank script from scratch and reference my own animations from Unity, my own sprites, well, just directly these sprites, then I should be able to much easily attach, like whenever you see a jump animation, make a jump sound. Whenever you see a fall animation, you make a fall sound, etc. So I'll let you guys know how that turns out. And thank you for watching. I hope I answered any questions. Took me a while, and I wish I had understood this a little sooner, but yeah, it was fun. So hope it was helpful.